It was like a sisterhood and not a competition. Everybody was there for like each other, and they wanted to lift each other up.
Welcome to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast, a weekly podcast providing career and creative inspiration to help you build a purpose-filled life. If you're interested in tapping into your creative potential, pursuing a career with passion, and building on your biggest and best resource, yourself, please join me on this path. I'm your host, Nancy Moore, and I want you to know that I'm on this journey with you. So let's get started. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the event coming up on Friday, Conversations with Passion and Purpose, which is an in-person event with a group of amazing ladies. My special guest is Cindy Kane, and she is known as the best friend of the Pioneer Woman, but she is amazing in her own right. She is a cookbook author, an entrepreneur, and head shopkeeper at House of Hyacinth. Our topic is no plan, no problem. And if that resonates with you, I hope that you have a ticket because this event is now sold out. So to be on the mailing list for future events, check out my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com. Go down and be in the know and put your email in so you can be in the know for upcoming events. If you are interested in gaining some exposure to an amazing group of dynamic women and being a sponsor, I have 3 different levels at my in-person events. So if you're interested in finding out more, then you can send me a DM or you can send me an email, sharingpassionandpurpose@gmail.com. And now here's the show. Hello, everybody. Many of you know that I had the opportunity to speak at Alt Summit in Palm Springs in March. It was my first time attending this women's conference, and it won't be my last. From the relaxed vibe to the excitement of being a part of an incredible community of women who understands what it's like to be a creative entrepreneur, my time at Alt Summit was absolutely incredible. I met so many amazing people, including Danielle Melton, who is the founder of MOTHERboard Society. Danielle is a true powerhouse who is also from Tulsa, and we didn't know each other prior to attending the event and joked that we had to meet in California to connect in Oklahoma. I had several people ask me about my experience and if attending was worth it. The answer is a resounding yes. It's worth it on so many levels. Most importantly, that time and money that you're investing in the conference is truly an investment in yourself and your professional journey. I invited Danielle for a conversation because we're both from Tulsa to share more about our experience at Alt Summit and learn her thoughts on the overall caliber of women who attended and what she thought of the topics that were shared and discussed. So this conversation is a recap of our experiences at Alt Summit. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation with Danielle. Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Moore with the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast, and I'm going to scoot this over. This is my first live podcast, and I am lucky enough to have Danielle Melton with me.
Yay!
She is the founder of MOTHERboard, and boy, this is fun.
Yes, it is. So we're excited.
So we had to do some setting up so you can see us on Join MOTHERboard and also Sharing Passion and Purpose. And so I might do a little adjusting, but it's interesting because Danielle and I met in California. So we both live in Tulsa, and we had the opportunity to attend the Alt Summit.
Yes.
And that is stands for Altitude Summit, and it's a conference for bloggers, creatives, entrepreneurs, for women to come together. And I feel like it's really known on the West Coast. And so I luckily ran into somebody, and when I told her I was from Oklahoma, she pointed over at Danielle and said, well, I think she's from Oklahoma. And we found out we're both from Tulsa.
Yes.
So we had to go to Palm Springs to meet.
Exactly, which is crazy because we live not even 20 minutes away from one another. And for us to like meet outside of Oklahoma and just the woman is great. And I'm like so glad to even have met her. And that's one of the greatest things I feel that Alt did is brought a lot of great people together. Yeah. And just to know that I have this great woman in my backyard, I'm just so blessed and grateful.
Yeah, and I feel the same.
Aww.
There were so many incredible women, but I just really, of course, hit it off with you. Yes. And I know it's our Oklahoma, our roots.
Our roots, yep.
But because a lot of people don't know about Alt, I do want to interview you for MOTHERboard, and I told you in the fall I have a spot, and so we'll be able to talk. So I want to talk more about Alt, but before I move further, if you could just tell my viewers just a snippet about MOTHERboard, just so they kind of know a little bit about who you are, then they can start following you, and then we'll dive deeper into it, at a later point.
Okay, sounds good. Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Melton, founder of MOTHERboard and MOTHERboard Foundation, and basically both of our entities is here to help support mothers, primarily working moms through all the things that we have with juggling everything to, going for our dreams and such things like that. So started off as an Instagram page, you guys. I was going through some things and feeling challenged as a working mother and needed kind of like some support and community around that. So like I said, we started on Instagram and then created, I would say, a working mom empire. Now we're supporting not only mothers through our, community connection, our different events, but we're also supporting the workplaces through our offerings that gives workers and, employers different ways to help support the mothers within the workplace so that they can create that nurturing and inclusive environment that most to all employers want to have. So that's a little bit about my journey, and I've supported over 15,000 women through our work and counting, and just really excited for our work and where we're going, and just trying to change the world for a better place, especially for us moms, because unfortunately we are the forgotten species, and we're going to change that with MOTHERboard. So
yeah. And you're a connector, and then you're also a supporter. So this is like the perfect thing for you, to be able to bring moms together. And so you guys check that out. It's Join MOTHERboard. I am going to link that so you guys can check that out.
And those of you who are here at Join MOTHERboard, hello you guys. This is the beautiful Nancy, and let's make sure that we support her and her beautiful podcast. Was it Sharing Passion with Purpose?
Sharing Passion and Purpose.
Yes. Love that.
So I'm dedicated to sharing knowledge, ideas, and inspiration to those who are following their passion and living their purpose in order to inspire others to find and follow their own passion and purpose. Anyway, yes. And I know that you are passionate about moms, and so anyway, yes. So how did you hear about Alt then?
Oh, that's so funny. So I was just doing some research. So one of the things this year I was telling myself is I wanted to do more and get out there and spread the message and use my voice and platform to help change others. So with that, I was going to, try to speak on stages and panels and podcasts and other things to kind of get the word out there of like what we're doing with MOTHERboard and this, supporting other people in their journeys. So I came across Alt on social media, on Instagram actually, and when I saw it, I looked at it and got on their newsletter. And one of the things that they did is they said, hey, we're looking for speakers. And I was like, hey, let me apply. So I applied for like a few, speaking opportunities through there. And a couple months later, I got an email saying, hey, you were chosen out of 900 applicants to join us as one of the speakers. So I was shocked, excited, and really, really looking forward to the opportunity.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So I actually learned about it from a cousin who lives in Salt Lake City.
Oh.
And so they have, in the past, for many years, hosted Alt Summit in Salt Lake City. And so she attended and said, Nancy, you would love this community. You would love it.
Yeah.
And so I applied and to be a speaker. And the first year, and I didn't get it. It didn't work out. I didn't end up attending. So this past year, I applied again because I think it comes out in October, maybe, the application.
I believe so. Somewhere around that time.
Yeah. So I applied again, And I luckily got it. And so I was so excited. And I thought, okay, so what that does is that actually gave me the opportunity, and I guess you too, to go and, have a platform to speak. But ours were different. So mine was actually a round table.
Oh, yeah. See, I didn't even know.
Yeah, and so I got to do a round table, and had a lot of fun doing that.
What was your subject?
So it's interesting because in one of my other jobs, it's public relations, and so I pitched myself in a variety of ways, and that's what they connected with. And so it was helping like write a press release basically, or getting yourself out there, putting yourself out there. Okay. And so anyway, it was a lot of fun, but anyway, yeah, a good time.
Well, look at that. Well, it's so funny because when I applied, I'm just going to be quite honest, I put in for I did it 10 times.
See, I think I even maybe did more, because the way you can do it, you have to you can apply for a round table, you can apply as a panelist, you can apply as a facilitator.
But one application per thing. So you can't just do it all at once. If you want to do a round table, you say round table, fill out the application, press submit, and then go back in and do something different. So so I did I would say about 10 times.
Okay, so the first year I just did once. I didn't realize.
Well, I just said, I know I can do more than just one of these. Let me apply, several times.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
How funny.
And I did several different things, and it was all related to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast and podcasting, and just that last thing that I put in, because I thought, and I think I was working on things for my PR job, and I thought, gosh, I wonder if they'd be interested in this. And so it was kind of just on a whim, before the deadline, and I thought I'll just apply, and that's what they took. That's what took. So anyway, so I was so lucky to be there.
Yes.
Among such a group of amazing women. So tell me, like your expectations. So you probably saw it on social media.
I did.
And so it was our first time attending.
Yes.
So what were your expectations going into it? And then we're going to find out, afterwards.
Right. So I really didn't know what I was getting into, actually. So I saw it, I read about it. It's like, okay, it's for creatives and things like that. And, just trying to pour into all these different women who are wanting to basically take their brand and business to the next level through, different expertise and different people there. So I was just thinking more so it was going to be, I guess my mindset was more so a little bit more rigid. It's like, okay, like I've been to other conferences and things like that. But when I went there, it was so flowy.
Yeah.
It just felt so like a breath of fresh air, kind of. I was like, oh, this feels good. This isn't like too rigid. It isn't. I mean, it had definitely. It was very professional and structured, but gave you a sense of relaxation and almost like you felt like you were still on a vacation while at a conference, which was so weird. I've never felt that way.
Yeah.
And it just the vibe was just so good. I just loved it. It was just so these are my people. I'm here. I'm relaxed. Everyone was such a good mood. Everyone was so supportive and just, I don't know. And even with my session, I just felt really confident, really not intimidated, because I just felt like it was one big family. It was just, I don't know. It was very interesting. Just flowy.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it, because I have not been able to articulate it as well when people have asked me, and I'm trying to tell them about it. And I don't know if I've been saying laid back, more relaxed, because there was a definite structure. There was so much, offered, and, ways to meet, and a lot of different things, but it just seemed maybe flowy, and I felt like everybody was very open to meeting. That's why we were there. Everybody was kind, friendly. I went by myself, and so when you go by yourself, you think, okay, you got to put yourself out there a little bit and meet people. But I didn't at all feel like it was hard to do. No. There was, somebody would say, oh, sit here, when, I'd sit down to eat. And I think one time I sat with you and ate, so it was it was very comfortable.
It was like a sisterhood and not a competition. Everybody was there for each other, and they wanted to lift each other up, just introducing themselves, and just
nailed it.
It was just not especially with women, as we know, a lot of times we're very competitive against each other, which I hate that. And just being here was like, we're all here together. We're all, wanting to support, wanting to pour into each other, wanting to genuinely get to know people. It was just a vibe that you don't see often. And I just love Gabrielle, the one who created Alt, for being able to create such of a vibe. That's very difficult, you guys. It's very difficult to create a culture like that and for it to just happen. And it almost seemed like she put things together so well that it just kind of happened naturally. Like you just put a pebble in the water and just, went on and just, became a thing on its own. It was beautiful.
Because I've been doing a lot of thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so what would you say your biggest takeaway from it was?
My biggest takeaway was, there's so many of them. Just everybody was just so nice, and everyone had something to. I feel like each person, whether they were, a presenter or an attendee, they all had strengths. They all had a reason they were there, and they're all there who, ready to support one another. So just my biggest takeaway was that everybody was just so kind and was willing to help and support, and wanting to make sure that I am creating that same feeling and that same outcome within my own community. So whether someone was, a New York Times bestseller, or whether someone who is like wanting to figure out how to build their own community, every person was so nice and was ready to like pour into you, and just made me feel like, I don't know, just made me feel really special. Made me feel, not like the outcast, because some people went for years. Like, we're number one, like our first year there. But, I'm like, okay, how do I walk into this? You don't know how it is. But everyone just, just welcomed me with open arms, and just, it just made me put that whole, like, having to figure out if, like, I belong in this space. How do I, Danielle from Oklahoma, to walk in this space where all these Californians and all these other people are here. So anyway, all to say, my biggest takeaway is like how people were treating each other and wanting to make sure I'm creating that kind of community, with what I have here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yes, being supported. Just feeling just that sense of being supported.
Yes.
And it's so interesting to go to another place and experience a conference or something that you normally wouldn't do, just because then there are things you bring back from that. And also I think that vibe is just something that hopefully I've attended one of your events and that you kind of have that same vibe. Very friendly. The group that you surrounded yourself with were also very friendly, because I talked to the panel. And so speaking of panel, I want you to talk about what you did, your role at Alt, because you're available and you reach out to different groups, or actually they probably reach out to you to come and speak. So I want people to know a little bit more about that, that panel and your platform.
So just more so about the panel at Alt.
Yes.
Okay. So when I was chosen to speak, I was speaking about, building community with diversity in mind. So myself and there's a handful of other wonderful community builders. They're part of it. And it was just such a great time. So I just spoke about my journey with creating, MOTHERboard, as again, starting from an Instagram page to, I say, a working mom empire, and just like the do's and don'ts, as well as just keeping in mind when community needs to be built versus when you may need to just have it as a blog, because not everything should be built around a feeling. So for instance, I'm upset because this has happened at work. I feel like all people are feeling this, or there's a community around it, so let me build. And then sometimes it may not be the time, or it may not be a community to be built around that. So just kind of those little pieces of how, when, where, and what to do with that, and then how to really, make it diverse. I know with me, my experience is a little different as a woman of African American descent. I, building my community, I had to make sure people knew that this wasn't just a Black community. I had to make sure, so my battle's a little different than others where they're trying to create diversity. I'm trying to create diversity in a different way, saying we include all working moms, so just spoke about my, experience with that and stuff like that. So again, had some amazing people on the panel and their experiences of building community and keeping community, and we just gave some great gems and, to the crowd, and it was just a great time.
Yeah, it was, really impactful.
Oh,
yours, I felt like yours especially, but I had met you prior to that, and I just, that resonated so deeply with me. And so anyway.
It's so one of the things I don't do is I try not to gatekeep. So I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to say, this is how I did it. This is, one thing to keep in mind. And just seeing people writing the notes down. And then all the Q&A after, I was like, okay, so this is obviously something people are wanting. They want to build community. They want to make it diverse, So like just knowing that this was one of the panels that people were really involved in, and then hearing people afterwards, thank you for this, and getting my information and wanting to learn more, it just warmed my heart that I was able to be able to be a light to people and help them on their journeys to create a community. So.
Yes, one of the cool things, I just happened to think about this, is because you were a presenter, but because you were part of the conference, you were with everybody, eating lunch, going to other events and that kind of thing. So I know when you have that accessibility to people, you also feel that connection.
Yes.
And so I remember, talking to you at one point. We talked before and then we talked after, and that was the same with other speakers and presenters who were there and just around and a part of things, because I felt like you could ask questions after the event, but you could also catch them later, that evening.
We're around the whole time. Yes,
and
exactly.
so I really appreciated that. It wasn't something where, you're on stage and then you leave and that's it. That was part of that inclusivity, I think, for me. That I really appreciated.
100%. One of my biggest people that I look up to was Rachel Rogers, and I was able to go to her her presentation and her thing. It was beautiful. And then she attended mine and gave me some
I saw that
feedback saying like, oh, I wrote some things down, I really enjoyed what you had to say. And just being able to be around people who I look up to and I inspire to, and they're being able to pour into me was beautiful. And one of the things I did notice, and I do want to put out there, is being around people who have like a lot of influence, who have built their platform. A lot of times, and what I've noticed, they want to help you as well.
Yes.
So it wasn't they were like, hey, what are you needing? How can I help support you? So it's like when you get to a certain level in life, it's not, we're a competition. We're like, hey, how can I bring you up here? And it was beautiful to be around so many women who just like, welcomed me with open arms, didn't know a thing about who I was, and just was like, hey, let's go to lunch, let's do this, let's keep this bond together and keep growing alongside each other. It's just beautiful. And one of the things I like to say is like, if I have a seat at the table, I'm bringing other people with me, because that's the goal. Like my community, my peeps, like I'm going to mention you in rooms. Like I'm going to do that because we're all growing together. We're all wanting to, get to a certain level. Yeah. So I think it's so important to be able to, bring other people along too. So as I'm, of course, working on who I am and working on what I'm doing, I always keep in mind others. It's so important. Yeah. So important.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm sure glad that you said that, because that was a common thread throughout is that resonated with me, but just mentioning somebody's name even when they're not in the room, having them in mind, because that's just another way to support them, get their name out there, get them connected with the people that they need to be connected with. And so I'm glad you said that. So one of the people that stuck out to me, and I think you really enjoy her too,
and you were the one who's like, do you know who she is? I was like, no.
And I haven't even interviewed her yet.
I was like,
super incredible. So I'm gonna have you kind of talk about her a little bit. So we were able to, I don't know if we should say there was a way to purchase books when we were there. So the people who spoke, many times they had books that were available. There was a gifting party. We got a lot of different, I've stacked some stuff up. We got a lot of different things from that. But this one's a good one.
Okay.
So let's talk about it.
And Nancy, again, so there's so many people there, and I'm like new to this space, and I believe you knew who she was before.
I reached out before, and I will tell you, she was so lovely, and gave me her phone number, wanted to set up a time to visit. I didn't actually take my podcasting stuff, and I hadn't read this book yet. I've just read her first one. Just her first one. And so, yes.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Eliza Litch. She knows I'm like a huge fan of this book. And it's so crazy because, let me just go really quick. So as I was learning who she was, I was like, let me tell me about who you are. And, we connected, we connect through email because all the speakers were on email. And then I was like, hey, let's connect when I meet you, in person. So I just, since I'm going to be alone, I'm like, hey, different speakers in this thread, love to meet you because I don't have anyone here,
Yeah.
So met her, we were sitting down, she was just like, hey, tell me about you. So I told her about me. And one of the things that I was explaining to her is that I built MOTHERboard, but one of the biggest challenges, and I spoke about this at my last in-person event, was I was in the background. I was like, okay, it's not about me, it's about the moms. I don't want it to be the Danielle show. So I built the brand MOTHERboard with me pushed in the background. And I was just explaining to her I was trying to work on building my brand and being a little bit more in the front, and had to go to a little bit of therapy to help me see that, hey, Danielle, you're building this platform, you're building MOTHERboard, and people want to know your story. They want to know you as the founder. So I was like, okay, this year I'm going to work on that, and that's why I'm joining stages and things like that to help, bring awareness to what we're doing and to help build my brand too as, the working mom expert in whatever else, I want to, people to know about. And so she's like, oh, girl, you need to buy my book. Let me tell you about my book. It's called On Brand. It's literally what you're trying to do. You're building your brand. You want that book. I said, okay. So push come to shove, bought her book. Not only did I buy the book, I've read it. I am reading it a second time because the first time I read it more so audiobook format, and you have to stop and kind of do some of the work. And I said, I'm going to listen through it the first time, kind of get it, and then next time kind of dissect it. Oh my gosh, you guys, she is giving you everything. And she used to work for Donna Karen and was DKNY PR girl on Twitter and all the things that way. So she knows what she's talking about. She has built her brand, built that brand, and giving you all the pieces and all literally the tea on how to do that. And the first time I was reading it, I called her, I was like, oh my gosh, Eliza, this is perfect. Oh my gosh, this, and she's just so sweet, oh, you're so kind, thank you. And so I'm a huge fan of this. So love this book, love Eliza, she's amazing. And yeah, sign the book, all the things. And then look, let me just tell you how awesome she is. She has an on-brand lipstick with my name on it. And this is the lipstick, you guys. This is her signature. Oh. So I said, let me make sure to put it on today.
Oh, and just, I love that.
Yes. And I'm thinking we should probably even do a book study here and try to see if we can get her to come to Tulsa.
I was just thinking about it. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. So,
yeah. Telling you guys, if you're trying to build your own brand, and I'm, again, just from my own experience, this book is it. This book is king, everything. So, anyway. Love her. She's amazing. She's such a sweet woman, and I can't wait to have her on the podcast. Yeah. So that's my spiel. Yeah. That is my spiel.
Yeah. She's very easy to talk to, but she's so knowledgeable.
Oh yeah.
And yes, so I can't wait. I have this, and I can't wait to read it. So once I do, we'll have to compare notes. But yeah, she's somebody I would like to have come to Tulsa. Yeah. So maybe if we're working together, we can get her.
Let's get her here.
Yeah. So do you have any others that you want to mention? Then I'll mention a couple.
So a lot of the speakers there were amazing. I've been following them for a while. Tara Clark, her Modern Mom Probs, her book. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I'm really excited. And she's amazing. Her session was great. And then, of course, Julie Cole. Now, this woman is amazing. She has built this great empire with Mabel's labels. It was so nice. After my session, she came up to me and gave me labels for me and my daughter with our name on it, literally right after the session. Just so kind. Just came up to the stage and handed it to me. I was like, oh, this is so sweet. And, of course, Kennedy's obsessed with them. So we love Mabel's labels. And, yeah, Julie is just amazing. Just her personality. She's just so down to earth. And just amazing. So she has a book here called Like a Mother. Haven't dove into it yet, but I cannot wait to. And just telling you about her journey and things. And just about her session. One of the things she was saying, it was just hilarious because I'm like, whoa, I don't know if I can do that. And she's like, you can. Like she said, if my child left their lunch at home, like I'm not bringing it to them because like to bring your lunch. You're not going to interrupt like what I'm doing. I bet you tomorrow you'll bring it. I was like, oh wow. And she's like, yep. And they do not leave their lunch out. I was like, okay, because she's like, why interrupt what we're doing? We're creating things. Why interrupt what we're doing? If there's something that was a consequence that you did. And I was like, okay. Never thought about it like that, but I mean, again, she has built an empire, and I'm like, let me take some of those little, informations from her. But she's really big on like self-care, pouring into yourself and things like that. So, love Julie for that. So these are the 3 books that I have gotten at
that's
Alt.
Awesome.
And then I was also, I have a book here. It's Ready, Set, Goal Setting. It's a 12-month workbook that I created, and I was selling this at Alt as well. And just a way for us to set goals, achieve them from my journey. Like I was super overwhelmed and burnt out and had to figure out a way to like not have the month consume me. Mm-hmm. So instead I created this workbook and the things that I use and put it inside a workbook to be able to basically, show myself in the world how you can crush your goals every month. So yeah. Anyway,
those are big words. Crush your goals. I love it.
Yes, you crush them.
Yeah, monthly, I love it. So. Okay, I actually need one of those because I didn't get one and I was planning on. Yes. Anyway, afterwards. Yes.
And then we have a monthly goal setting workshop that goes with it. So, like, not only is it great to have the workbook, but if you have the accountability to help, like, walk through the workbook every month, it's so helpful. So. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest piece is that accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So is that on Zoom or how is that done?
That's on Zoom. It's the first Monday of the month, so it'll be next week. Okay. And just a good time just to walk through it together and, like I said, create goals and crush them. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's stellar. And she's so humble, but I'll have to link that. Where do people get that?
You can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
And I can give you all the information as well as, if you're here in Tulsa, you can grab a copy as well. And the cool thing about my workbook is that once you get it, you get the digital and physical version, and then you get access to the goal setting workshop. So you get the link to be able to join every month.
Have you found, though, people buy this book and then maybe don't really want to be held accountable or come up with excuses or what are you seeing with that?
Well, I mean, it's up to the person. Some people want the accountability. Some people say they don't need it. So it's out there for them. So if you want to join the goal setting workshops, you can. If you don't, you don't. But it's just a nice time to reflect on last month. What do we want to be true this month? And then just like word of the month. What's your word of the month? Like how are we going to stay accountable and things like that. It's just nice to be able to do that together.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. There's something about having that face-to-face interaction and, not just through, just through the workbook. So when you're saying monthly, coming together and being able to, see somebody and have them ask you about it or be able to brag, I did make this goal and now I'm moving on to the next. So,
and it's so low-key. We're literally writing out, okay, so let's go to the next page. This one. Let's take the time to fill it out. Anybody want to speak on what they wrote down? You don't have to, it's just a way to say like, I'm going to commit to this time of creating my goals for the month. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so I'll link that.
Yay.
Okay, so in wrapping up, I just thought I'm going to just maybe mention a couple of these. I was just realizing I had a couple more books, but I've loaned them out, so I don't have them. So what I do have, if you guys know Happy Planner, Happy Planner was at our gifting party, and I might just mention, did you go to the gifting party?
No.
Okay, so the gifting party was the first evening, and it was like maybe 2. Okay, so it was a couple of hours. I think it was maybe 7 to 9 or something like that, and people lined up for this gifting party, and there were amazing things that were given out. So part of that, if you guys are familiar with Happy Planner, so Happy Planner gave out their planners, and I got up and actually got the last item at their table. Nice. So this is actually just a Happy Notes, and it's a dotted lined notebook, and I haven't even opened it to use it yet because it's not, you don't have to use it until you're ready. Nice. But so I have that, and then I don't know if I should, I have so many things in here. Then the other thing I'll mention just in time. So this is Jenny Booth Potter. And Jenny is actually somebody who I sat next to at the welcome with Austin Channing Brown.
Oh,
and
nice.
So, yes, the welcome keynote. And she was phenomenal. And I sat next to Jenny, and I was talking to Jenny. And Jenny is Austin's best friend. So if you remember her referencing her best friend, so that's Jenny. And Jenny's come out with the book, Doing Nothing is No Longer an Option. So DEI was a big topic, which I appreciated so much at this at Alt Summit. And the things that we talked about and the conversations I think started from that were incredible. But anyway, so I'm going to have her on the podcasts coming up soon, but One Woman's Journey into Everyday Anti-Racism. So I'm going to give her a shout out because I'll have her on the podcast sometime soon. But anyway, so this was just an incredible way to meet people, to connect. So, yeah.
And if you're here in the Midwest and you all want to go next year, let's come up with a way we can do that together. Idea. I think that would be great. I mean, it was great for Oklahoma to be represented by 2 people, but can you imagine if it was 10, 20? Like, it would be so amazing. So, I mean, I feel like we should create something. I'll ask Gabrielle, like, hey, how can we do this? Like, and support and, get the Midwest to know a little bit more about this, because it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was life-changing, like in the connections.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm more prepared next year, because like one of the things they had was those little tables where you can like create like different like, I don't know, like networking things. I want to do one for moms. Like moms weren't represented, and like let's do it. So so those who are building mom communities, or maybe you can do one for podcasting or PR, like it'll just be great.
Yeah. So we're already talking about next year.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's really fun. So if you have any questions, maybe post them in the comments and we can go through and kind of look and maybe help answer some questions that you may have had. But honestly, if you're wondering if you're stuck in what you're doing and you need support, this just going to a conference physically is such a great way to do it. And I will mention, so I don't do a ton of conferences, but I know I'm always seeing you're doing a lot. I mean, you even went to Mom Congress,
Mom Congress is at the end of the month. Mom 2.0.
Okay, Mom 2.0. I went years ago to Mom Congress.
Really?
Isn't that funny?
See, I'm part of, I'm a member, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So, yes, Mom 2.0. And so, but compared to the other conferences that I have attended, I was just wowed. So, yes, I am already planning for next year, and we'll see if I can pitch something that'll be accepted. Otherwise, I'm going. But yeah, we should have a contingency going from Oklahoma for sure.
Yes, and I have one more thing I just want to mention to people. If you're trying to grow anything, if you're a subject matter expert in anything or wanting to be, go to a conference, pitch yourself. Like, you are a subject matter expert for something. Yeah. Whether it's, I like sewing, whether it's, I'm really good at this or that. Find the conferences, find the summits that are about that, and join it. Join it and speak on it. And the easiest way to do it is to be on a panel. Like, you're answering questions in a few seconds, and then, things like that. And then if you want to grow more, you can do like the keynote speaking and things like that. But just keeping that in mind, if you're wanting to grow in something, and or if you're like, hey, I want to be around people in this, like maybe you're not ready to speak on anything, but if you go to a conference or a summit that is around that subject, you're going to grow, because your network is going to grow. And everybody know your net worth is your network. And that is so true, because if it wasn't for Alt Summit, I wouldn't have gone and been on the main stage at Mom 2.0, interviewing, interviewing people, being part of that. And, it just opened up so many doors. So just want to say, pitch yourself, know your worth, go for that goal. And the worst they can say is no. And guess what? No is not always meaning you stop. It means a pivot. So, okay, you can't do it here, so let's go somewhere else. So I just want to encourage you all, like, be part of it. Pay that money. It is going to cost a little bit, but you're investing in yourself. And, like, again, the connections. The connections is everything. So you're going to be around people like you and people you want to be around. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Okay,
That's so important.
Thank you. I feel like we got to wrap up with that because that was the mic drop. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
This has been a lot of fun. And I know this is the beginning of our friendship and what we're going to be doing. So a lot of fun. But thanks to Alt.
Excited. Yes.
Thanks to Alt.
Exactly. Thanks to Alt.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap on this week's episode. I want to thank you for listening to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. It means the world to me, and I'd love to connect with you. Please follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter at Passion Sharing. Also, if you like this podcast, it would mean a lot to me for you to subscribe, rate, and review it. And as always, all my show notes will be available on my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com.